And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Cerebria, the Inside World, the card game. Now, I didn't even know this existed. I played Cerebria, the Inside World, from Mind Clash Games. It's a very big game, kind of with an inside-out type thing, and different emotions, good emotions and bad emotions. I ultimately came down on the slightly negative side for that game, although I know a lot of people really enjoy it. It's a big, giant, grandiose strategy game. This is just a small card game. So usually I found that when there's a small card game based on a big game, you might like one and dislike the other and so on. So I was like, hey, I'll certainly give this a whirl. I had heard nothing about it, so let's check it out. Cerebria, the card game. Revolves around a deck of 96 cards made up of bliss cards, which are these orange cards. Think of them as happy cards, and gloom, the sad cards, the blue ones. You're going to place 3 cards face up in the middle of the table. This is known as the impulse, and then there are some impulse stacks here, which is equal to 2 cards plus 1 per number of players. Now, what players are trying to do in this game is they're trying to get these tokens here. These are identity fragments, and you will win if you get 12 bliss fragments, the orange ones, or if you get 12 gloom ones, or if you get 7 of each, which is 14 and slightly harder. If you ever manage to pull that off, then you win the game. If there's a tie and 2 players pull it off at the same time, then whoever has more tokens wins. So players are going to start with a handful of 4 cards. This token here is going to be flipped at the beginning of each round to show which bonus points or bonus fragments are going to be given. In this case, it's on the bliss side, so orange ones will be given out as bonus, and the round begins. On a player's turn, they have 2 actions. They can take the same action twice if they want to. One of the actions that you can take is an impulse action. You can take one of the cards from the impulse and add it to your hand. It's immediately replaced with a card from the impulse stack. If there are no cards to replace it, at that point, a revelation is going to take place, which is a scoring. The other action a player can take is playing a card from your hand. Now, there are 6 different types of cards in this game. We have mild emotion cards that you can play in front of you. So here's one of each: affection and insecurity. And when you play these, you're going to place 1 fragment on each of the spots that's after the action that it shows here. We also have stronger emotions here. For example, here's greed and adoration, and the main difference here is that these have 2 that you're going to place after them rather than 1. And then finally, there are some brightness and bleakness cards. These cards themselves don't have any emotions played on them, although you are allowed to play them along with an emotion from your hand, in which case they count as 1 card together. Otherwise, you can only have 4 cards in front of you, and you can play a brightness card off to the side. See, because besides the 2 actions that you can take on your turn, you also can use emotion abilities, which is to use these special abilities here that will do various things. When you use them, you'll take one of these off. Normally, you would discard it. If you have a matching card and it's the right one, bliss or gloom, you can, instead of losing it, keep it, because you're going to get to keep these at the end of a round. So if I use this greed one, I could place it on the bleakness. Putting it underneath means that you can play them both at the same time, and it means you can have more cards, because you can only have 4 cards, remember. But when I spend it, I can move it down here. However, only this one, the greed ones, could go here. If I spent this insecurity one, it could not go over here. Now, if you spend it and there is no, for example, spot open on a brightness or whatever, then you would simply discard it to use it. And so players are going to keep doing this until a revelation occurs. Now, what do all these special abilities do? Well, we have a card here that shows us you can make someone else discard an emotion. You can discard 2 emotions from the impulse. You can play an emotion into your mindset. Mindset is the cards in front of you. Move 2 fragments from someone else's to yours. Steal an emotion from someone's hand. draw an emotion from the impulse, draw 2 emotions from the main deck, or swap 2 emotions between any 2 players' mindsets. So you're mostly affecting and moving around the different fragments and emotions that you can play. When a revelation occurs, you're going to be collecting all these fragments that you have. In addition, you are going to get some bonuses if you have a bunch of cards that have a matching symbol on them. These are vibes, or if you have a bunch of different. And you're going to get bonus, and the bonus depends on which side of the coin is showing up. So it's going to give you either bonus bliss or gloom fragments. So you can see, for example, here I have 3 of the same. That's going to give me 2 bliss tokens at this point in time. While if I had 4 of a kind, I would get 4 bliss tokens. And that's it. You'll start another round and go to another revelation unless someone has met one of these win conditions. When that happens, that player wins, and I've already mentioned how that works. The components for this game are great. This is a metal coin here. Now, the only problem I have with the coin is we could remember this is the gloom and this is bliss. I guess it's kind of more obvious, but we always just put one of these tokens on top of it just to remember to remind people what exactly they were getting as a bonus. The box is a really nice box. It has that magnetic clasp lid like this, so it works really well. And I'm a huge fan of the artwork of this game. I really like the theme of the game, and so I'm a big fan of all these different guys. You know, it reminds me of Inside Out. Doubt and courage and hostility and selflessness. What a nice looking chap. Innocence, isolation, kindness. I don't know. I've always been a big fan of how this game, how the original game looked, and this stuff is pretty much the same artwork. The card quality is also really well done. The whole production is a very, very good production. So there's a couple things that kind of I found problematic. Like I said, production, really well done, but it's Mind Clash. They always have fantastic production. So Cerebria, the theme is fine, although I found it kind of weird after a while. This game is like a very, very simple game, and so you're constantly telling people, okay, there's a revelation occurring, and here's the impulse, and it's these weird terms that are made up that I guess add to the theming of the game, but ultimately lead to a bit of confusion when teaching it. Not a big deal. Play a card, take a card. That's the way the game works. So playing a card is fine, but there's 2 problems with the game. One, there's a lot of luck involved in the game. Get the cards you need, play the cards. You could say, well, yeah, but you can pick one of 3 face-up cards to take in your hand. Sure, but if my opponent starts off with their initial 4 draw and it's better than mine, the strong ones are better than the weak ones. There's no question on that. A strong one plus a matching, the bliss or the negative one that just attached to them, and you can move the stuff to it, that's even better. And so what we found is in every game of this, you simply just play cards. And then every once in a while, hurt your opponents. The problem is twofold. One, it's kind of a take that card game, and I'm not a real big fan of those to begin with. I didn't imagine that. It didn't seem like it would be. And secondly, the take that isn't even that interesting in this game, because every time you use a take that ability, unless you have a place to store it, you are literally giving up a point. So you don't want to give up a point. So the take that doesn't happen that often, but sometimes it does, and then it just can really wreck someone else over. Oh, I'm switching these emotions, now you don't match anymore, now you don't get that bonus. And it just felt odd. This game is a weird mix of this kind of higher cerebral type terminology, and it looks like it's a deeper game, but it's not. It's just a simple take that game. And yet that simple take that game isn't really fast and furious, because you rarely want to do it because you don't want to spend points unless you have the spot to spend those. Then you might as well do it. So then who do you hit? You hit the person in the lead. And it's just a big mix, and I don't think, so taking out my opinion of Cerebria, the Inside World, the board game, I don't think fans of that game will like this one. I think this one will be too light and too take that for them. I don't know that take that fans will be interested in this game that much either, because the theme and stuff, while I love this theme, it's a fantastic theme, doesn't seem to really match the gameplay, at least in how it works out. So honestly, this is the game that, once again, feels like it was a quick thrown together thing to add as a stretch goal to the board game. I hope that's not the case. But either way, I found that for me, it wasn't very enjoyable. Dice Tower Judgment, Just too much take that from me.